Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Strategy Game Podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Shippey, and today we're continuing our Seen, Known, and Heard series, and we're talking about the part of the book where I write about what it means to truly be known. And I don't know about you, but there are very few relationships or scenarios where I would say that I feel fully known in my life. I think, and that's not to anyone else's fault. It's just that it's really hard to be truly known because as humans, we have so many different facets of us, and we have the way we interact with different personalities and people reveals these different facets. And sometimes I find myself in a conversation and a part of my personality is coming out, and I'm like, oh, that's funny. I don't see myself doing that over here, right? Or over here, or in this scenario. And so I just find it so interesting that as humans, we have so many different facets of our personalities. And I think that being known takes so much time. And I don't actually believe that we'll ever be fully known by any one human, because we just have so much in us. Just the number of, even I write about this in the book, like the number of cells and the number of the genes and all of the things that make us us, and how we're constantly changing and evolving and taking in new experiences and maybe healing from past traumas or whatever we've been through, experiences, things like that. And we're growing at the same time. And so to be fully known is next to impossible. So it's also kind of freeing to let yourself know that you may not ever be fully known, but with those closest to you, you can reveal the different facets of who you are. And so it just means, I think, when we think about this as humans, what we're really looking for is someone to recognize us, someone to just really say, hey, I know you. I know what you like. I know what you might want to do. What the phrase that comes to mind is anticipating your needs. So, you probably have a friend maybe that you grew up with forever, and there's different types of being known, but this is one of them where it just feels so familiar, so recognized. And whenever you get together, you can just pick up exactly where you left off. And sometimes words aren't needed. They're not needed. And that person knows your habits, and they know your routines, and they know like how you brush your teeth, and like hardly anybody else knows that. Like, just there are so many things that, so many ways that you can feel known in your life. And so just taking a minute to think through those ways, where do you feel most recognized or known in your life in different ways? And then you might have another newer friend that really understands the season of life that you're in, and you just feel like sees you and just gets you, and knows exactly when you need coffee, and brings it, or, whatever it is that just makes you feel known, or knows like what to say. And it's already like what you're thinking, just can read your mind. Right. And that makes us feel known. So those things throughout our days make a big difference, because you just feel understood. And I think that feeling of understood really brings safety. It brings comfort. And it works against things like hopelessness, because when we feel hopeless, it emerges from probably feeling alone. So depression, anxiety, so many even mental health issues can arise from this. And obviously there are other factors, right? There are genetic components and all these other things. But if you feel truly known, it really helps lift your hope. And hope is a critical component in our lives. It helps us to dream. It helps us to move forward and make progress. It helps us to even reach our goals for ourselves or our businesses. Without hope, innovation would not exist. So if you think about the entrepreneurial journey, if you think about the start of great corporations, like you think about Walt Disney, right? Or some of the legends in terms of business, if they had felt hopeless, they wouldn't have continued. And most of them, if you look at their lives, while they were pioneers, so they traveled a path that was probably more alone than not, there were spaces, or they created spaces where they felt known to be able to continue. So I think about all the different areas of our lives, all of the different facets. And as you think about this, how can you seek to know others and to be known? I guess that's the question. That's the main question of this episode, is how can you seek to know others? And are there others that are specifically coming to mind right now? And how can you also be known? For us to be known, it requires a level of vulnerability. And we don't just give that away to anyone, right? We give that away in safe spaces or environments as we feel that, right? As we sense that, as we build trust in relationships. And this applies to the business sector, but also to our personal lives. So there are levels that we may choose to be known, and it's always our choice. I think that's important to understand, that being known doesn't require us to go and tell everyone every single detail of our lives, right? In an effort to be known. We don't have to do that. We don't have to strive for it. We can actually let it come, and we can be still and just know when there are moments that we can make parts of ourselves known. And we can seek to know others. And this can be really simple, even with strangers. Just a smile, acknowledging their presence, opening the door for somebody who's carrying 12 coffees, a hug for someone when we just sense that they need it. There are really, really small ways that we can make others in our lives feel known without even requiring words. And I'm coming back to anticipating needs. I think that's really huge. And sometimes words help people feel known, but practice with yourself. Just pay attention to yourself this week and think through, what are some ways that I can extend an olive branch almost to those around me to help them feel known, and watch their response. Because what this does, the beautiful part about this, and this is why this can change the world, literally, if we all did it, is that it brings down defenses, because people truly feel seen, and they feel heard, and then they feel known. And that is such a beautiful thing. And it pulls down walls, right? Because they feel safe, and they feel like you really care and have their best interest at heart. And so when people just feel understood, they can feel appreciated, they can feel respected. If it's in a workplace, they can feel loved from a personal level. There are so many wonderful facets of this, and it doesn't require us to do any hard or complicated things. It can be like making eye contact, using their name, repeat back what you heard them say, take notice of details that are important to them, right? And so that can just create this beautiful picture of us working together to not feel alone in the world, and in turn restore hope. So that's the bigger picture view, right? That's what we're after on this journey of being seen, known, and heard. And we can do that for our clients in a work perspective. We can say, hey, what makes our customers feel known? How can we anticipate their needs? And that's some of the work that we do at Storywork every day. And so I just love the journey of being able to help people and also companies really make people feel known. So thanks so much for listening in. If you liked it, please give us a review. That always helps. And head to www.storywork for more.